Looks good. Any objections? Going once, going twice. Hearing none, we will adopt this agenda and we will go forward. Oh, man. So first things first, I invited Brian Sells to speak to us tonight, and he is on the call. I just realized that I never hit send on a description that he wrote up for us, which was so very nice of him, and I just completely blew that. So y'all will have to forgive me. What I'll do, since his time is definitely valuable, I'll let him kind of take the floor first. What this is about is the court case from last year. If you guys will recall, Mr. Graham brought forward a possible court case for his candidacy for the governorship regarding the we'll come back to you in a second, Elizabeth. But the Republicans created a new thing in the state legislature that allows for committees to be made for the governor and lieutenant governor, and they can use those committees to raise unlimited number of funds. And Brian will tell us a little bit more about that in a second. So basically what we're doing is we're revisiting the case since it was just ruled on and not favorably. So the idea here is to get some movement on it in one direction or another, and we'll hopefully be able to decide something pretty quickly so that we can get things moving. So I'll open up the floor to you, Brian, and let you take that away, and then we'll come back around to it after you've kind of spoken to it.
Sure. Thanks, Jared. I appreciate the invitation to come and talk. The case actually dates to 2022, so it's 2 years old, almost exactly 2 years now. And it was brought on behalf of Ryan Graham and the Libertarian Party of Georgia, challenging a 2021 amendment to Georgia's campaign finance laws that created a loophole for what is called a leadership committee. And what happened in 21 is that the General Assembly saw Stacey Abrams coming again for Brian Kemp and wanted to come up with a way for him to raise more money to match her fundraising prowess from 2018. So it created this vehicle called a leadership committee. And a leadership committee is different from an independent committee or a campaign committee. And it's different in that it can raise and spend unlimited funds, and it can do so in a coordinated way. Ordinarily, a candidate through his or her campaign committee can only accept contributions up to $8,400, and that's one for primary and $8,400 for the general, and $4,800 for the runoff. But a leadership committee can accept contributions in an amount of $50 million if it so chooses, if it can identify a donor who's willing to give that much money. And the leadership committee can then give unlimited amounts to other candidates because those contributions are expenditures from the leadership committee, and those are unlimited. So in the case of Governor Kemp, he gave, I think it was $350,000 a week before the election to Justice Pinson in his recent race against John Barrow, that he could not have done through the ordinary channels. Now, the thing that we sued over in 2022 is that leadership committees are limited, and they're limited under the law to the governor, the lieutenant governor, and the nominees of political parties for those two offices. The minority and majority caucuses in the legislature can also create them, but that's not what we were focused on. We were focused on this limitation to political parties because, as you all probably know, Georgia law defines political parties in a way that includes only the Democratic and Republican Party. The Libertarian Party, the Green Party are what are called political bodies under the law. And so that meant that the nominee for lieutenant governor in 2022, Ryan Graham of the Libertarian Party, was not eligible to create a leadership committee, whereas his opponents in that race on the Democratic and Republican side could. So we, relying on a series of cases, both at the Supreme Court level and Court of Appeals outside of the 11th Circuit, we filed a lawsuit challenging the limitation of leadership committees to political parties. And it was the third such lawsuit in 2022 because David Perdue didn't like the leadership committee statute because it didn't apply to someone who had not yet gained the nomination. And so he was at a disadvantage compared to Kemp. And the same thing with Stacey Abrams. She didn't like the law because she was the only person running for the Democratic nomination, but hadn't officially been nominated and couldn't take advantage of the leadership committee statute. Our challenge, of course, was different because the Libertarian Party is completely excluded from those from the leadership committees altogether. But the judge that we were assigned to had already essentially ruled against Perdue and Stacey Abrams on some fairly technical grounds. He held that you can't sue the state for a violation of the First Amendment here. You have to sue your political opponent. And so when we filed suit, the Judge Cohen, made the same ruling, which makes no sense at all. And we then appealed that to the 11th Circuit in the fall of about this time, 2 years ago, in August of '92. And then 11th Circuit took 2 years to resolve the case, and just about 10 days ago ruled that the case is moot because the 22 election had passed and because our complaint didn't say anything about the 2026 election, because we were only at the time focused on the 22 election. So where we are now is the 11th Circuit is about to send the case back down to the trial court, the lower court, with instructions to dismiss the case. And the question that I brought up with Jared is what should the next steps be? And there are a bunch of options, but I think that there are two most reasonable options, and they all stem from the basic premise that I still think that we're very likely to win a case challenging the leadership committees, because you just can't exclude certain candidates from something like this, or allow some candidates for a political office to raise more money than others. And the option that I recommend is to file a motion to amend the complaint in the original case to add allegations about the 2026 election. Now, Ryan Graham isn't committed to running in the future, and so the amendment will probably remove him from the case altogether. But of course, the Libertarian Party plans to run candidates for governor and or lieutenant governor in 2026 and in future elections beyond that. And so I believe the Libertarian Party itself would continue to have standing just as it did in 22. All we have to do is add 2 or 3 sentences to that part of the complaint saying that the party wants to run candidates in the future. Now, it's not a foregone conclusion that the judge will allow us to do that. He may say, you've got to go back to square one and file a new case, which we can do. And that's the other option, is we could go straight to square one and file a new case. But I think it's worth trying to amend our original complaint for a couple of reasons. One being that we can avoid the cost of a filing fee and service of process involved with starting a new case. Number 2, it increases the likelihood that I would be able to recover for some of my time that I spent on the earlier portion of the case. It would ensure that we get the same judge who I think will be inclined to rule in our favor ultimately. And I don't think the delay hurts us because we're talking about the 2026 election cycle. So even if it takes the judge 3 weeks or a month to rule on the motion to amend, I don't think we've really lost that much time that we could save by filing a new case. I don't think this is a good candidate to take up to the Supreme Court because we really haven't done that much litigation, and I think the Supreme Court wouldn't likely take it anyway. So we're better off going back down and trying to litigate it there rather than to take it up, which is one of the other options. It seems to me like a no-brainer for the Libertarian Party of Georgia to continue this case. I know that it's long been part of the National Libertarian Platform to oppose all campaign finance restrictions. And this is certainly one that I think we have a good chance of knocking out. And what I think will ultimately happen is that the Libertarian nominees for governor and lieutenant governor will, in fact, be eligible to raise money in unlimited amounts. So it's very consistent with, I think, the Libertarian platform. And I don't know why the party wouldn't want to do that, given the strong precedent in our favor that no court has really addressed yet. And I think we can, with repleading, we can get the court to address it and ultimately rule in our favor. So with that, I'll shut up. And if Jared would like, I'd be happy to answer questions about it.
Yeah, I think it's definitely good to open it up for questions. Obviously, we're going to want to discuss and talk about it. So having you on the call while we're going through questions and stuff would be good. So Mr. Allen, you had something?
Yeah, I had a question. I read the decision and it, disclaimer, I'm not a lawyer. It appeared that they declared it moot because our future candidates would be hypothetical. And just from my plain reading, it seemed like what they wanted from us was to somehow be able to nominate like candidates multiple elections ahead of time in order to be able to not be moot in this fashion. Does that make sense to you? And is your amendment would get around this problem?
So I don't read it quite the same way. I think what they said with respect to the party, at least as I read it, is that we didn't say that we were going to run anyone in 26. We didn't say anything about 26 because the lawsuit was focused on 22. And I think we can, reasonably allege that the party does plan to run candidates in 26 and in the future. And I think that would get us around the technical deficiency that the 11th Circuit found. Now, the district court might still say, I'd rather you file a new case. I'd say probably about 60 to 70% chance he'll allow us to amend. But it's not 100%. I think it's worth doing, though.
And I guess you think that if the judge allows us to amend, then it's pretty likely that we win it.
Eventually, yes.
Eventually. Okay.
I think this judge can be convinced. When he decided the cases in 22, it was on a very rushed basis in the heat of a campaign. And so I think that starting the case early and litigating this in 24 and 25 rather than in the middle of 26 is really going to help him. And so whether he rules in our favor or we have to go back to the 11th Circuit, I think we will ultimately prevail.
And tell us again the cost to get it over the finish line, as far as like printing, filing, and things like that.
Yeah.
Just so we're all aware.
So my fee arrangement with the party and with Mr. Graham were that the party and or Mr. Graham pays my out-of-pocket costs, and I do all of the attorney work on what's called a fee shifting basis, which means I don't get paid unless I win. And when we win, it would be paid by the state of Georgia and not by me, not by the party. So the question is, what are the out-of-pocket costs? Well, there's a filing fee. If we have to file a new lawsuit, that would be $405. And service of process, meaning you have to serve the complaint on people, that's usually another couple $100. And it might be able to be done more cheaply than that. But that's at the trial court level. If we have to file another appeal, the copying and printing of briefs is, in a case like this, probably about $1,000, maybe $1,200, because you have to do a lot of copies of them. This kind of case is not going to be a discovery heavy case. Discovery is when the parties do things like depositions and interrogatories, and deposition transcripts can cost some money. That can make a case get expensive fairly quickly just on the cost, because a deposition, if it's a long one, could be $500 or higher each if there are a lot of exhibits. But I don't foresee many, if any, depositions in a case like this because it's strictly a legal question. So what we'll do is file the motion to amend. That'll be free, no cost associated with that. If he grants that, then we'll file a motion for a preliminary injunction, no cost associated with that. So we could go a long way without any out-of-pocket costs. If he denies the motion for leave to amend, then we'd file a new case and we'd have that filing fee and the service of process costs.
Cool. So the filing fee and the service of process is for a new case?
Correct.
And then everything right now is just, it's all like doing an amendment wouldn't have any of those costs or anything like that.
Right. And that's one of the reasons why I think it's worth trying to do an amendment. obviously there's some of my time involved in drafting a motion for leave to amend.
Right.
But that's not a very complicated or difficult motion.
Right. Okay. Any other questions? Mr. McKinney.
Hi, Mr. Sells. Thank you so much for all your work on this. And this is an unrelated thing, but if you have a second to give us an update on what's going on in the PSC situation, I would appreciate it. Thank you.
Sure. As things stand today, the next Public Service Commission election would be in March of 25 for 2 seats. And I think it's 3 and 5, but I don't have that committed to memory. That's what House Bill 1312 prescribes. But there was a lawsuit in which I'm also serving as a lawyer, filed about a month ago, challenging the constitutionality of House Bill 1312. That has been assigned to Judge Billy Ray, and he has more or less put the case on the slow track. We're expecting some briefing before the end of the month, and I think he might rule on our motion for preliminary injunction in September. It's while I think it's a very strong case, I think Judge Ray is inclined against us. So if he rules against us, then the election is going to go forward just as it's written in House Bill 1312, most likely. If he enjoins House Bill 1312, what would more likely happen is that there would be an election for 3 seats, not 2, and they would be earlier in 25 rather than in March and November, which is what House Bill 1312 provides. So it might be, like January and April or something like that. I think there's a lot of uncertainty about that. But that's kind of what I think could happen if he rules in our favor, which is not a super high likelihood, given that he seems to be inclined against us. Does that answer your question, Colin?
More or less. I do appreciate you helping us out on these other matters, and even though we're not necessarily a party to this particular lawsuit, I appreciate you keeping me up to date.
Yeah.
And thank you very much.
Yeah, and in case anyone's interested, we're still fighting on the congressional ballot access case, the case that in which I represent the party, but also Martin Cowan is the lead plaintiff there. I don't know if there are any other of the plaintiffs on the call, but Judge May, who's the judge in that case, has had a couple of motions on her desk for, 9 months. And so she's not doing anything fast with that. I'm expecting some kind of rulings later this summer, probably maybe in September. But the most recent thing we did in that case is filed a motion for leave to supplement our complaint because there's another bill. It was a part of Senate Bill 189 that, as you know, allows anyone on the ballot for president if they're in 20 states. And of course, the Libertarian Party is on the ballot in more than 20 states, and yet can't get someone on the ballot for a lower level race, House. And so we think that undermines the state's justifications that it has given so far for its current ballot access system that prevents the Libertarian Party from running candidates for non-statewide offices. So we're waiting on rulings on 2 motions in that case as well. Last thing I wanted to say, going back to the campaign finance case, is that the judge there is going to send the case back down, or the Court of Appeals is going to send the case back down, I think, next week, on the 23rd, if I remember correctly. And so I would like to be able to file a motion to amend as soon as the case comes back down, so that there's no accusation that we dilly-dallied around, which means I would, like some kind of direction from the executive committee as soon as possible. Doesn't have to be tonight, but in enough time such that I could get the papers prepared when that case, before the case comes down.
And that's on Graham v. Carr, right?
Yeah, that's on the Graham versus Carr.
Sweet. Okay. Is there any objection to moving the new business piece for vote and such up, and just doing everything right now on the call? Hearing none, that's what we'll do. So would somebody like to move that we continue forward with an amendment? Mr. Allen?
I move that we continue the campaign finance lawsuit forward with an amendment.
Is there a second? It's been moved and seconded. Is there any debate? Mr. Johnson?
Does that motion sound good to Mr. Sells?
That provides me enough direction, yes.
Good call. All right. Is there any further discussion, debate? Hearing none, we'll close debate. Those in favor of, Mr. Allen, did you want to provide that motion in writing? Because I've just realized that I cannot repeat it.
Yeah, if I can remember what I said.
I believe the motion was that the Libertarian Party of Georgia move the lawsuit Graham versus Carr forward with an amendment.
I'm satisfied with that. So the question is on, say it one more time for us, Mr. Placey.
That the Libertarian Party of Georgia move the lawsuit Graham versus Carr forward with an amendment.
Are you ready for the question? Those in favor of moving forward with an amendment, please indicate so by raising your hands.
I see 14 in favor.
Okay.
Oh, no. Okay, I'm seeing more hands.
Good enough.
Okay, I see 16.
Oh, man. All right. Y'all can lower your hands.
Mr. Barker, okay, thank you.
Those opposed? The ayes have it. The motion carries, and we will move forward with an amendment on the current case. Thank you again, Brian, for your help and for bringing this to us. I think it's really helpful having you here and just laying it out for us, even though I missed my cue and botched that one for you. You did so much work for it. I've passed it on to everybody so everybody can read it as of now. So it's a little bit moot now, but like our case. But we do have the opportunity to read at our leisure. So thanks, everybody. And we will go ahead.
Thank you all. It's a pleasure to work with you. I appreciate your vote of confidence.
Definitely. I'm glad to work with you. Perfect. If you don't have anything else, you're welcome to stay on, but you don't have to. This is obviously the boring stuff that.
Yeah, I'm going to jump off.
All right, cool. Take care.
Bye.
Thanks so much.
All right. Is Mr. McGee on the call?
Mr. McGee is not on the call.
Okay. We will move on with the 2024 ballot access report. If Mr. Mosley would like to speak to that.
Am I terrible?
Barely.
Okay. Hold on just one second. Is that better?
Much.
Okay. So I will be brief. First of all, reminder that we're 85 days out till the general election. This has been an issue for us for going on 2 years now. Everybody here knows what's up, and so please bear that in mind and help campaign for Chase so we can push this thing over on the election. Now, second thing is I haven't been having any meetings. I've simply two reasons for that. Number one is I have a lot of stuff going on in my life that makes it difficult for me to keep this top of mind. I'll leave it at that. So I will call a meeting if I find the time and the space and see a need. But as the meetings have been up till the end of June, when I had my last meeting, I'm basically having meetings with people who already know what is going on, and there's not much point to that. Is how I'm seeing it right now. What really needs to happen is we need to be involved in public-facing situations, speaking to people that are not in our inner circle, explaining them our situation, and encouraging them to vote Libertarian for president. And so that's what I'm looking for. The only thing that's on my radar right now is the Pride event. I believe it's in late October. I forget the exact date. Other than that, I'll be looking for events, but unless I see something that's promising, I'm not going to make a big deal out of it, just simply because my time is so constrained at the moment, and that's probably not going to change through the election, and it's very possibly could get worse. The good news is, recently, within the last couple of weeks, I have read of a poll that has Chase and RFK Jr. tied at 4% in Georgia. Now that is way preliminary to get excited about, but it is promising that actually happened. If Chase does pull that off, or anything remotely close to that, that will be extraordinary and unprecedented, and it will say a lot about the quality of his campaign. The most important thing that you can do right now is to help the Chase campaign in Georgia. Whatever you do, the The better Chase does, the better it is for us. And in the absence of me being as active as I was a few weeks ago, please bear that in mind. And you all know what's in stake. So that's all I have, unless anybody has any questions. All of you know the situation. I don't need to belabor that. 85 days to the election. This is a major big deal. So that's all I have.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Mosley. Is Angela Pence on the call?
Ms. Pence is not on the call.
Okay. We will move on and go to our IT director's report. Mr. Dolan, if you want to take that away.
Yeah. All right. Thank you all for the extra time you've given me to put into this and to put information out on Basecamp. I hope you've had a chance to read my what I have posted for the executive committee there. To summarize, I was given the task of looking at technology alternatives to deal with the ongoing issues that we have been having with particularly the IT infrastructure components that we are currently getting from LP National, the Civa CRM, the website, and occasionally the email system. Now, the email system is separate, but somewhat joined to the LP National. We can depart from LP National on the Civa CRM and website without uncoupling ourselves from the email system. We can work on that on another timeline. The priority, it would be the Civa CRM system. The ongoing problems we have had, we have had trouble, most especially with transactions occurring, contributions and membership payments being forwarded from Civi to Authorize.net, our credit card processor, and then the confirmation of those transactions not making it back into Civa CRM. And we have been manually working around that. Just earlier today, Alex helped me out by manually confirming that some transactions had happened over this month. And as soon as I did one toggle in Civi, then the memberships were that were in pending status were put into confirmed. We don't want to have to do that. We want to have it just work, and it should be fixable, but it takes some under the hood that we don't have within this multi-state setup, and that and we have not been able to get reliable support from LP National's IT group for some time. There is a monthly call which I can attend and bring issues to them, and sometimes they can help to solve those issues. Sometimes they can't. But the help desk system, in particular, the email help desk ticketing system, has become no help. So alternatives, we have looked at, and thanks to a team of folks who I won't remember all their names, but I've thanked them on Basecamp for giving me feedback and thoughts on this. We did look at alternatives, including leaving LP National for one of the other software as a service non-Civi CR membership / CRM systems. We looked at building our own Civi CRM, and then we looked at hiring a consultant, namely Andy Burns, who formerly worked for LP National, and I have had very good experience working with Andy. As far and our priorities were, we wanted something affordable, but we wanted very strong focus on data integrity. Anytime you move from one system to another, there is a risk of loss, and this is valuable data. We can't afford to lose it. So we wanted a very solid switch over. And we wanted solid customer support. And we wanted something that we could own, that if we decide down the road that for some reason the solution that we adopt, we need to change again, we want to be able to uncouple from what we're moving to and still own our data. And Andy's proposal has provided all that very well. I think he knows he is working with several other states, LP Indiana, who really has their act together on IT, and others, and he is also working with the Chase Oliver campaign, providing them CRM services as well. So, and as I say, he's thoroughly familiar with the LP National system. So he has the know-how to set it up so that we can have our own independent system where we have full configuration. It is not LP National's system. It is not a multi-state system or multi-site system, but that we could still pull the data updates from National that that they owe us periodically for National members in Georgia and contacts in Georgia. So Elizabeth did ask a question in the chat, which I thought was a very good question, which is this are we buying a product or a service? And my answer was, in a sense, we are buying a product and we are buying a service. We are buying a product, as in Andy's time to implement our platform, our website, our service, and our database to meet our needs, and our particular needs, not just as a political party, not just as a libertarian party, but we have some needs that are distinct from other states as well, and some expectations, and he would be implementing that. And once the product is and he has priced out how much that product of implementing the system costs, and he has also priced out how much monthly the service of hosting our website and CRM and providing monthly support would be. And he has offered an arrangement where a portion, about half of the cost of implementing the product, would be spread out over that first year of service. So, also I uploaded more recently an amended agreement which offered additional options for if we wanted to have a member portal and a mobile app. The mobile app would be dependent on having a membership portal, but the membership portal would allow, it has been a frequently requested option. It would be available for members to check their membership status, check and update their own information, and see any members only content or directories that we might come up with. The cost of the full the cost of the implementation part would be $10,000, but we would not have to pay that all at once. When the contract is signed, we would be obligated to pay $5,250. 45 days after launching the new site, we would pay another $2,100, and then we would pay another $263 over the next 12 months on top of the hosting cost to finish out the implementation part of the contract. And then after that 12 months, we would drop down to the base, to just the cost of paying for ongoing hosting. So, as he described in there, if after it goes live for the first 12 months, it would cost $383 a month. After that, it would cost $120 a month. And he would be available for ongoing support and troubleshooting. And then also my own ability to troubleshoot would be greatly increased, because he would be training me on a lot of stuff that is just out of my reach right now with our current system. I know I've dropped a lot there. Are there any questions so far? I saw a hand.
Yeah, Mr. Johnson, go ahead.
Well, first of all, I want to say I appreciate you, Mr. Dolan, and all the people that jumped in to help you. And then I want to say that I apologize for asking this question from a position of not knowing very much about it. But a couple questions. One is, did y'all consider some of the popular CRMs and website hosting services that, businesses and not startups, but businesses and people use every day? There's some of the really popular ones that are intuitive and don't need as much training, and they may not have as much capability. I don't know. And then the second question, I think you already answered, but just reiterate, the one thing I really want is for members of LP Georgia to have an account gear symbol that they can go see their account and see what their status is. So those two things are the things that I'm curious about right now. And again, thanks again, Danny.
Okay.
Y'all are doing a great job.
Yes, to answer your questions, first, yes, we did. Yes, I did take a good long look at going to another, you might call it out of the box. You said popular and well-known system. Number one risk of that is there is a risk of data loss from porting the data from what we have in CiviCRM to whatever to any other system, whether it's Nation Builder or MailChimp has been called a CRM, but it is a totally different. It is not a membership system. There are other systems out there, but there is a risk of losing information if we can't do a direct transfer. With going with another Civa CRM based system, we would be able to make sure that we set up the fields and set up the tables on the new system to mirror what we have already. And in fact, one of the very serious points in Andy's contract is that he wants to establish a direct MySQL connection to the back end of the national system for that data transfer. It won't be as we might do for any other system jumping, where we would have to export from Civa CRM into a series of spreadsheets and hope that we got all the records and hope that we didn't that we got all of the fields and hope that we can map the fields in the spreadsheets and from Civi into fields in the new system. No, all that would be guaranteed by going from one Civa CRM instance into our own new Civa CRM instance. Also, another thing I want to mention that Andy has talked about is that with having more control of our system, Civa CRM has a lot of capability to empower us for putting together fundraising campaigns, for putting together get out the vote campaigns, for putting together support candidate campaigns, for events. There are a whole lot of capabilities that Civa CRM should make properly implemented, and with us properly trained to use all of its capabilities, this system should be making us money. So yeah. Yeah, as Ryan said, this is fully customizable. Whereas if we went with something else, we get what we get. So and then, as you said, I know that you've been very interested in having a members portal. That is something that we can add on. In Andy's estimate, he said that he would charge us $3,000 one time to implement a member portal. But it is well within Civi's capability to do that, and he wants to make it a member portal that meets our needs, that meets what we want to do with it. So that's one of the things that we need to think about. It's definite that we want to be able to have people to be able to check their membership status, renew their membership, and for example, update their address, update their credit card. But if there's anything else we want to do with that member portal, if we want to use it for events, if we want to use it for communication from local affiliates to members, those are all possibilities. Once we get it started, there's a lot we can do with it.
Okay. Cool. Are there any other questions? I do have something that I want to say and a few things on this. So if anyone has any questions for Mr. Dolan beforehand, Mr. Allen?
Yeah, I did have a question. First, I do want to second Mr. Johnson in thanking you, Danny, for all your hard work on this, and also second that if we do this, we should strongly consider the member portal. The current system, and it probably would be charitable to even call it a system, involves members just sending in inquiries on the website and hoping that one of the people who receives that sees it through the mountain of spam and updates it manually, which is absurd. So I do hope that we can get that solved. One question I did have was, I was looking under the actual hosting and support, and it comes with 10 hours of support per year. Is that sufficient?
Once that is after we have the onboarding and training, that he is going to give me. He is going to give let's see, give me, over a month of comprehensive onboarding training. And I will be turning around and giving training to everyone I can get, from our own directors to our to our affiliate leaders. The idea behind this, if it is well designed, we should only have to invoke those 10 hours when something goes seriously wrong. But my own ability to work as IT director should be greatly improved. If we find that we are drawing more on that than necessary, that we are drawing more on him, then that's something else to look at. But his when I've worked with Andy, he was very responsive. So I mean, I think I'm comfortable with that 10 hours. Like I said, that is after after the whole onboarding thing has kind of finished up.
Cool. Yeah. Anyone else? Okay. So I love the work you've done, Danny. I think it's been great. The $10,000 quote, having a full setup, everything is good. And I think it is huge for the fact of getting us off of the Civi instance that we have now, that like is taking an entire IT machine to build and fix and update and set up new stuff with. Apparently the authorized.net connection got broken somewhere, and
Right.
now it's taking,
and apparently, from what I have read, that is fixable, but I haven't been able to get National to make headway on fixing that. They have apparently slowed down in updating their Civi CRM versions since they have set out to do something different with Zoho. But that would not be a problem under if we have our own Civi CRM. Plus, I think I sort of mentioned this. This system here that Andy is offering would be on a virtually hosted machine, so that if at any time after our contract with Andy runs out and we decide that we want to go to some other Civi CRM host that hosts virtual machines, we should be able, knock on wood, to just pick up the whole thing and carry it over and say, here you go, fire it up.
which is solid.
Yeah.
And that's actually, so I finally got a hold of, I think it's Andy Bukovich, up at National today because I knew we had this meeting coming up to try and figure out some of that stuff. Just what's going on at National, what's going on here, giving him kind of the feel for what we're doing here. And he was asking questions like that, like, are you going to do it on a virtually hosted machine? You know, are you going to do it on Drupal versus WordPress, like Ryan's talking about? Are you, you know, who's going to do the updates? Who's going to be able to manage those kinds of things? And I think we have some good answers here.
Mm-hmm.
But what I was going to request from everybody, because National is on Zoho now and does have plans, they're having a meeting tomorrow, literally, to talk about, and I know like dodge the tomatoes getting thrown, but they are talking about providing Zoho access on a state level. And the reason they think it's different is because of the fact that it's not, sorry guys, the clock is going to be done in just a second, if y'all can hear it. Okay. The reason it's going to be different is that it's not self-hosted, it's software as a service. So everything is already set up for a business. It's already user-friendly. It's not being done by, you know, one guy in a back room. It's done by teams and people who are like set at this, good at UX, good at design, those kinds of things. So I would be very curious to hear what comes of that. And I would hope that we could, I mean, obviously we're going to have to like come up with some kind of fundraising scheme for the implementation regardless of the Civi piece. So it's going to take us, you know, whatever we do, it's going to take us probably 3 to 6 months just to come up with something to like make the jump, make it happen. Because we just don't have $10,000 to just throw at this. And we really don't even have the monthly cost either without taking something significant away from affiliates or something else important. So I was hoping that we could at least do a postponement a month to take up the actual question. I know there's not even like
there is currently not a motion on the floor, so there is nothing to postpone. What was on the agenda was simply a report.
Okay, good. And that's kind of where I was about to hit. So I think, is everybody okay with that? Any thoughts on that side of things, Mr. Graham?
Is National, like I'm one of the big proponents for moving the Civi CRM with National in the first place because I thought the synergies would be really great, and you know they would cover a lot of expenses for us, and their team who was working on it would be able to help us through any issues. And then it sort of shows that, and this isn't me blaming like any particular group or anything, but if a new group comes in, there's just really no guarantee that things are going to go very well. And we don't have a lot of control either, because I think that's what's happened right now is that we've lost a lot of control over our own data. And so I would probably, I mean, I'm open to hearing details, but I would probably err on the side of we should start keeping more of our data in-house and being responsible for our own data so that we're not as reliant on them. Yeah. And the other thing I was going to say is as part of like working to organize LP Atlanta, like part of the bylaws for LP Atlanta is you are a member of LP Atlanta if you live in Atlanta and are a member of LP Georgia. And I think I don't even have a way to actually know who is a member of LP Georgia in our database because the data is not reliable at all, according to what's been reported. And so I really don't know how a lot of our affiliates are doing their work right now. So I think this just needs to get fixed sooner rather than later. I'm not sure if this is the right decision or if going with National is the right decision, but something has to get moving sooner rather than later.
All right. If I could speak to that first.
Sure.
I have not heard. Your IT director has not been told about this movement from national to give states access to Zoho. Just to let you all know, there has been a lack of communication back down to us, at least back down to me, as to what they are offering. So I am wary of it because as Ryan said, I don't want us as a state to be in a position of dependency. I don't want us to be in the dark as to what's going on. And you know, I feel like we are. You know, and I understand the concern about the fundraising, and then there's also timeline to be considered. You know, right now there is a presidential election going on about you know, that is also taking up Andy's time and resources, and he expressed that he would rather get started after that season is over. So we are not exactly in a rush. I do want to do this right. So, but there you have my information, my recommendation. I'm still in contact with Andy. If you have any questions, if you know, if I find out more about this Zoho thing from National, I'll try to get information on that. Jared, if you can have them, please have them reach out to the IT directors.
And they will after this meeting. So I don't even know that they were even communicating that out at all.
Yeah.
But because I was on the phone with him and asking about CRM stuff, he communicated it. So.
But like I said, that, you know, one of the big significant things was when they changed over the help desk system to be something where we couldn't access tickets, you know, or see the status of things that we requested or that was requested of us. That right there was a big start of difficult, you know, things getting difficult to manage. So
yeah. Mr. Mosley, did you want to contribute? Are you talking?
Mr. Mosley, you are on mute. There you go.
Oh, apologies.
Just talking away.
So, all right. I don't have any questions. I have two comments. The first one is, I think this is an excellent direction. I think that making our data work or IT work independent of national is always a good idea. I just know from experience in the past that becoming dependent on national can set you up for some disappointments. I'll just leave it at that. So I love that direction. Let's just keep it up. My second point that I wanted to make is we need to be very thoughtful about about the money here. Jared raised this issue. It's a very good one. I don't really have issues with the money that's being talked about. I do have issues with trying to pull that out of our current budget. So part of our planning should be something like we make a big old exciting fundraiser out of all this, and this is a perfect project to turn into a good high quality fundraiser. So I just make that point. Let's do that as a preliminary foundation to making this happen. That's all I have. As with everybody else, thank you, Danny. I appreciate your work. That's all.
Cool. Is anyone opposed to this being a standing item until we deal with it? Hearing none, this will be a standing item. Mr. Placey, if you could just put that on the agenda going forward, that would be helpful.
Okay.
All right, moving to the next piece, the appointment of the Bylaws Committee Director. I have appointed Jim Sheehan, and as our policy manual states, we are supposed to get an XCOM ratification, I guess we can call it. So I would like to present that to everyone for a vote. Don't know that there's a lot of process around that. Questions? Maybe? Okay. Hearing none. Oh, Mr. Graham.
Yeah, I guess my question, I was talking to Jeffrey Scholl about being on the bylaws committee. So how would we go about that? I mean, would Jim just be the person to go through at this point? If this goes through, I guess?
Yes.
Okay.
Cool. Ms. Austin?
I have a question for Mr. Sheehan.
Say again?
I have a question for Mr. Sheehan. Is he on
Okay.
the line or is he on the call?
I am.
Excellent. So you are being appointed as chairperson of the bylaws committee. I'd like to hear from you. What is your philosophy as far as what the bylaws committee should be doing and what your idea of the direction that the bylaws should be taking?
Am I recognized, Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Okay, well, I would say I don't have a radically new philosophy. I think I'm going to stick with the status quo philosophy that the prior person had, and I'm trying to do the best I can, commit time to it, and make sure that kind of the momentum that the last person had is continued. It's just no more complicated than that, Christine.
Okay, what is that momentum? What direction was the last person headed?
I think it's just going through an orderly process, having common sense as dictating what we do and how these laws go forward. I don't want to make any radical changes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Austin. And Mr. Sheehan? Anything else? All right, hearing none. Those in favor of the appointment, please indicate so by raising your hands. Okay. Y'all can
15.
Yep, y'all can lower your hands. I'd like to give it a couple more seconds now that I see people's hands going up and down.
Mr. Richards, your hand is still up. Thank you.
My apologies.
Those opposed? All right, the ayes have it. The motion carries. And our new bylaws committee director is going to be Mr. Sheehan. Okay. With that, I wanted to see if everybody was amenable to this, and if so, I would entertain the motion. Mr. Scholl has indicated to me that he will be stepping down from the executive committee in September. So I wanted to see, our policy manual doesn't have a lot of detail as far as like getting prior notice, because I don't think ever gotten prior notice for a vacancy. But I would like to go ahead and get the process started since it's August. And if we waited until September to begin the process, we would start in September, send out an email, have a meeting in October for the executive committee position. And then in November, with 2 months to go, the new person would join the executive committee. What I would like to propose is sending out a notification between now and the next meeting so that we can have the September executive committee meeting be the point where the candidates would come before us, speak to why they want to be on the executive committee, to accomplish those kinds of things. And then we could have that vote for that meeting. And then October, we would be able to have the actual person in the spot ready to go, which would give us a little bit more of a point in filling the vacancy. Just gives us another month of runway. What I believe, Mr. Placey.
Yeah, if I'm recognized to ask a question at this point, when is Mr. Schull's resignation going to be effective? If it's after the end of this meeting, then we really don't need any special motion to begin the process immediately and then have any nominees be made in September. I guess is the idea that Mr. Schull would actually be resigning after the September meeting, but we would still be voting on his replacement at the September meeting.
Yes, that would be the plan. So, and I guess the reason for that was, hey, can you give me more time just to get that figured out to see what we can do? I like for our, I would like for it to be as seamless as possible. And I thought this would be a good kind of way to do that so that we could kind of crunch that timeline down a little bit and give ourselves a little bit of, give him the month that he said he would give us, honor that, but also at the same time, prepare ourselves for the next phase of that. But I'm open. There is no motion on the floor, but I will entertain a motion. And what I would probably say that would look like is
It appears Mr. Graham has suggested a motion in the chat.
Please add or subtract words as necessary. I just tried to type it out while you guys were talking.
Mr. Graham, you're doing the Lord's work. Notice of the executive committee vacancy seeking candidates this week and hold an election during a regular September election that includes 3 minutes speaking time to all candidates nominated. Yes, I think that works. What I would, just for the sake of, I'm not sure, I don't think this has any, I don't think this is necessarily a suspension of the policy manual, but I would say I move to send out a notice or move to suspend the policy manual section 2.2.8 to send out a notice, just so we can say, because it says when a vacancy on the executive committee occurs, it could be read. So I'll send that. Does that wording work? I move to suspend the policy manual section 2.2.8 to send out a notice of the executive committee vacancy. Or, yeah. Mr. Graham, go ahead.
Sorry, the only thing I would maybe suggest adding in there too is how that election would happen. So if we wanted to use like OPA vote or something like, or what method of voting. I know that sometimes causes a stir in libertarian circles.
Yeah. Provided it is consistent with the LP Georgia bylaws and the policy manual. Let's say OPA vote. Is everybody okay with OPA vote?
I think it would be
Should
like
we
approval voting
by
there.
ranked choice or
Ranked choice, yeah.
yeah, will
Yeah.
only be one vacancy, so
One vacancy. We can do it by ranked choice if that works.
Cool.
Okay. The ballot will be sent by OPA vote on the night of the September and will be conducted using ranked choice voting. Mr. Johnson?
Exactly who are the notices sent to?
The membership or our list. I think it's our membership. I think we decided that on current membership according to the policy manual. Okay, Mr. Graham, does that work for you?
Probably.
Probably. Okay.
I believe there's the word election in the middle where it should have the word meeting, where it says during our regular September.
You're right. Okay. One more time and we'll get it. September meeting. Okay. Perfect. It has been moved to suspend the policy manual, section 2.2.8, to send out a notice of the executive committee vacancy, seeking candidates this week to hold an election during our regular September meeting that includes 3 minutes speaking time to all candidates nominated. Ballot will be sent by OPA vote on the night of the September executive committee meeting and will be conducted using ranked choice voting. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we will close debate and take this to a vote. Those in favor of suspending the policy manual and sending out notice, please indicate so by raising your hands. Okay, 18.
18.
Love it. All right, y'all can lower your hands. Two people still have their hands up.
Mr. Graham and Miss Salvia.
Ms. Salvia.
Your hand is still up.
Okay,
I think we can call for the nays.
Those opposed can raise your hands now. Okay, seeing none, the ayes have it. The motion carries. We will send out a notice this week and get some people on board. Awesome. As far as a chair's report, that was the big piece that I had was getting that piece taken care of and getting the bylaws committee fixed up. Sorry, I was reading Mr. McKinney's note. Yeah, so we have a few things coming up. Don't forget that we have the Great Create coming up again, September 27th and 28th. It's going to be a really fun time. 2 days in Omaha, Georgia. You'll be in the middle of nowhere. Great chance to disconnect and also meet some cool people and learn some really awesome stuff. Make sure to get there. We just had brush fires. Elizabeth will tell us more about that, obviously, and the Great Create. We do need volunteers for the Great Create. So if you are going and you'd like to volunteer some time, shoot me a message. Let me know. I'll get you into a spot. We're hoping 2 to 4 hour kind of blocks of like manning tables, taking care of kids, doing basically whatever needs to be done, being a runner, those kinds of things. That's going to be really important to get it running smoothly so we don't have 1 or 2 people just running around with their hair on fire all the time. Yeah, those are the big pieces, that and the lawsuit, which I do appreciate you guys being very quick about that and helping us get that moving along. I think we could stand a good chance, and hopefully we get at least one win in the court system. So with that, I will pass it on to, Brian, and he will give us a vice chair's report.
Yeah, I don't have a whole lot. I renewed our executive director agreement. Executive director has been doing a good job, and she and I both agreed that she wanted to continue, and we wanted her to continue. Not to kind of ring this bell again, but I would like to get us to a point to where, should we decide to renew in 2026, that we can actually offer a increase in compensation, which will require more money, more fundraising. Just again, that's really all I have to say. Unless there are any questions on this or for policy.
Just out of curiosity, were you following HB 1312 that Brian Sells was telling us about?
Yes, the one setting the PSC races.
Yeah.
It was actually Mr. Graham brought it to our attention during the session. It was one of those bills where they took an agricultural bill and shredded out all of the existing language and inserted the PSC language.
Love it.
That's why I didn't know about it beforehand. But yes, I'm aware of it, and I do agree with him that it is unconstitutional, according to my own layman's reading of the Georgia Constitution.
Cool. I like it. Maybe we'll get some movement on that too. All right. Any other questions for Mr. Allen? Awesome. Thank you, sir. We'll move on to our executive director's report. Elizabeth?
Well, I would like to start out by giving a big warm thanks to Lori Williams for the excellent job that she did with the brush fires workshop last Saturday. It was an excellent program, very useful, and an excellent fundraiser. And I think that that is just the ultimate way to fulfill your fundraising commitment, not only by, offering it something that's such a great fundraiser, but also something that's so useful and practical and something that is so needed. So hats off to you, Lori, for all of the hard work that you put into that.
Thanks to everybody who came. It was great.
It was great. I also would like to take some time to thank David Barker, who has been doing an excellent job supporting me in the affiliate support committee, because I have been so caught up in other things. He really has been picking up the slack with visiting affiliates, and I'm not even having to call him up and say, hey, David, can you do this? He's just on it and doing it on his own, and that's great. So give him thanks as well. I'd like to reiterate some of the things that Jared said about the Great Create. Mark had mentioned something earlier about an, fantastic fundraiser. This is it. We have been given a wonderful venue that is no cost to us. We have lined up, I think, at least 20 at this point, great speakers. And so far, none of them have charged us for coming. They're coming for free. Will Harris, I don't know if y'all are familiar with him. He is the owner of White Oak Pastures. He is basically a rock star in those circles. Been on all kinds of different podcasts and talk shows, news outlets. So just the ability to come and see him is, for me, that's really a privilege that he's volunteered his time to come and speak to us at no cost to us. So yes, I encourage y'all to come. I encourage you to try to sell tickets to others who might be interested in some of the topics. It's a great way to bring people into the Libertarian Party to get to meet us. Where I'm continuing to add new topics. Our other keynote address is going to be from James Dutton, he's a lawyer who has been working a lot on privacy issues and fighting some of the surveillance in the state. And he will be giving a talk on how we as individuals can assert our rights and protect our rights, how we can take action in that regard. So just a real variety of topics. So if you want to get involved or if you want to sponsor, many thanks to Doug Craig for stepping up and sponsoring, and Brian Allen for stepping up and sponsoring. You can sponsor as an individual or sponsor as your business. So just let me know if you have any questions or want to get involved with that. I have been offered a volunteer position with You Are the Power, and I am accepting that because I think it will be a great connection for LP Georgia to have. I know that we have worked with them in those cases that they currently are working on with the DFACS cases. I know that we've worked with them bringing attention to those and on our podcast, having them at our convention, and it's a great way to make connections and make a difference. So I will be helping them out as well. So I think that's all that I have for tonight. Thanks.
Hey, where can we go if we want to get more information on the Great Create? It sounds like a really awesome thing that would be really cool to go to.
thegreatcreate.org, and there is a Facebook page, The Great Create, a DIY festival. Thank you for asking.
Glad to. Thank you, Mr. Allen, in the chat. All right. Any other questions, anyone? I see that Angela is here from our chat. Angela, would you like to do a candidates update since it is a standing item on our agenda?
Hey, can y'all hear me?
We hear you.
Okay, good. Sorry, I did not. My days run together, so I did not realize y'all were meeting tonight. So Chase has been touring all over the country. This past week, he was at the Iowa State Fair. And last week, I believe it was, he came through Northwest Georgia, through my neck of the woods, and we did a meet and greet at the Caffeine Addicts, I believe it was, in Ringgold. And it went really well. I think we raised a few $100s there, actually. He came and we filled a room and sat there for about an hour. And then he went on to Chattanooga, Tennessee that night, and because Tennessee is petitioning, and did an event up there, which isn't that far from me. Um, and we did really well there. And then he traveled to Nashville and then Fancy Farm, which he is the first libertarian that has been asked to speak and accepted. My understanding was that Gary Johnson was asked in 2016 but did not go. And so Chase is the first libertarian to appear there. And he did a really great job. I mean, everybody here knows Chase for the most part, so he's just a phenomenal speaker, and he definitely uses that to his advantage. Poll numbers are actually they're going up. We're seeing a very interesting dynamic happening, especially since Joe Biden dropped out, of course, and Kamala Harris is the presumptive nominee, and then RFK Jr. has been losing popularity. Actually, it just looks like he's hemorrhaging it, quite frankly, and Chase is gaining. So in several polls, he's polling between 4 and 5%. And of course, here in the state of Georgia, that's good because we need to retain ballot access, and he is our candidate that will retain it for us for the next cycle. So that is incredibly important. That being said, he will here it looks like he will play a major role in swaying the election in the state of Georgia. So that's also pretty exciting. Again, he's doing quite well. He's got several things booked out. It looks like this upcoming weekend we are going to have him in Atlanta for his birthday. So Saturday he will be, and that should be on the website. And if it's not, then it should be within the next 24 hours. He will be doing an exclusive brunch at Mary Mac's, I believe is the name of it, in Atlanta. He loves that place. And then doing like a candlestick bowling afterwards. So that'll be super fun, and I can drop the link for that when they do have it up. If y'all want to come out and support him, that would be awesome. Like I said, he'll be in Atlanta. Also, it looks like we'll get him for a tour hopefully in September. The original plan was to do that this month, but with him going to Fancy Farm, that took precedence, and understandably so. So the hope there is to get him not back in my neck of the woods since he was already up here, but get him into Northeast Georgia, Southwest Georgia, and then over into Southeast Georgia. So I'm looking at like the Athens area. We'll probably do something in Atlanta because he's there, the Columbus area, and then the Savannah area. So that'll be coming up. Plan to do that, and as soon as I have more information about that, I will let you guys know. So yeah, that is where we are at. I have a deputy director. It is Doug. Although I might actually be stepping down. So there may be somebody in my place, but I will make sure that they will connect with you guys. And if they don't, I will. So you guys can stay up to date. So that is all I have, unless you guys have any questions.
Mr. Allen, then Mr. Mosley.
Yeah, I just I know Chase is doing the Soho Forum debate tonight, and I wasn't able to watch it live because we had this meeting. Do you know how that went?
I actually haven't even, I have not tuned into it. I was in a class actually. So, and then got the message that y'all had a meeting tonight. So I actually just jumped right on here. So I have no clue. I'm sure it went well though. I'm confident that it likely went well. Anybody else?
Mr. Mosley, I think you still have your hand up.
Yes, I wanted to just make everybody aware that Angela was mentioning Chase's poll numbers between being over 4%, just to give you perspective. 2% carries our ballot access. Gary Johnson in 2016 did 3% or 125,000 votes. If Chase does 4% or more, he will blow away Gary Johnson's record. So just some perspective there. 2% is on the edge. 4% is blows it all away. That's all.
Mm-hmm. He is doing quite well, and I do think those numbers will go up. The more people are starting to get, I mean, you see it naturally happens in campaigns, and his has come together fairly well and is moving. And as that's happening, more people are getting to know him. Things are those gears are really going, and so I definitely expect that there's going to be a jump. And I would not be shocked if he pulls come the election, 5% or more. I would love more. Anybody else? All right, guys. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yep.
All right. We'll return back to our agenda. And I think we are at the treasurer's report. Mr. Moldenhauer, if you're on, the floor is yours.
Hey, can you see my screen?
Not yet.
Okay. Let's see.
I see it.
Yeah, go for it. You're good.
Perfect. Thank you. First of all, I would like to thank Danny for working on all the IT matters and keeping up with people's memberships and clearing them. The data discrepancies can be far and wide. I've done that before in many contexts, and it is definitely an endeavor, so I want to thank Danny for that. Okay, so I also posted in under the event a copy of the Google Sheet I'm looking at, or it is this one. It's a copy of the one I'm working on. So same as last time, you can create the time frame that you want to look at if you make a copy. If you want to look at the left, being these two, the right being these two on the right. In this case, it's comparing the year-to-date of January to July in 2024 to 2023. And as far as some actual things to look at on the previous month, we can see that. I'm going to make this a little bigger. Okay, so we have some event income from the previous range day and some tickets for the Great Create. So make sure to promote that. Having more events this year is helping our numbers a lot, especially due to the hard work of our organizers, that we don't have to pay for the venue, and that the people are very generously volunteering to give talks for free. So that helps a lot. I don't think there are any really noticeable monthly updates than that. We can see the event increase here. The only other thing is that there have been a fair bit of authorized errors in the last 2 months. So I'm trying to figure those out. Fair bit of cards got declined, and they're coming in with strange formats, so I'm having to relabel them correctly in time with the tax documents I had to give in July. But so hopefully, as things get ironed out there's going to be less errors downstream. The actionable item that'll come from that, though, is I'm probably going to be emailing and attempting to call a lot of people whose cards got declined. And if they don't respond within a month, I'm probably going to put a Google sheet of names in the executive committee so people can help me out, and if there's anyone they know personally. Okay, looking on what we projected as a budget on the what's going well is that the membership income has been doing quite well. I think a large part of that is people at events wondering if they're still members, and there's just a fair amount of people who I don't think know whether or not their membership is ongoing. And the events, we can definitely see that helping out with our numbers as well. And then probably some things to bring attention to is if you have any affiliate events you want to do, we have budgeted a fair bit of that. We budgeted more than last year, especially in an election year. So let me know if you have any expenses for that, or if you're planning anything for that. We're willing to help out with that. And then just generally talking to people about pledging, talking to people who want to donate to a worthy cause. Just in general, if we have lists of people who have lapsed, I think there's a fair bit of ground to be made there. And then as far as this presentation goes, I'm probably gonna, with the next version, I'm probably gonna have a master graph that has some notes on the actual events. This customizable version makes it dynamic, so the comments wouldn't match up with where the things actually are. And I posted in the executive committee a screenshot of this table. But if you have any changes to this that you'd like to see, or just generally information, feel free to message me on Basecamp. That's it for me.
Love it. Any questions? Cool. Appreciate you putting it together, and we'll keep you posted if we have any questions. Obviously, if you have them, the Basecamp is always open, and so are the meetings. So that is that's out there, right? The graphs and all that.
Yes, it's in the executive committee comment under this date, but I'll post it in the financial documents as well. Cool. It's gonna keep changing with each version.
Right.
I need to, just balancing out, making it easy to input the data, because QuickBooks has a particular format versus what's comprehensible to anyone looking at it. Finding a good balance of that. So it's going to keep changing, but hopefully this helps anyone make decisions. But yeah, thank you, everybody.
Appreciate it. Mr. Placey.
I move to adjourn.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. It's not debatable, so we will take it to a vote. Those in favor of adjourning. Unanimity. All right, y'all can lower your hands. Those opposed? Seeing none, the ayes have it. We are adjourned. Thanks, everybody.